it's all done by hand, which is pretty staggering if you think about it. Fermenting, so fermenting takes anywhere from like about 4 to 7 days, depends upon the variety, and then drying. So fermenting is probably the trickiest step out of all the steps because it changes day to day with the temperature and the humidity, and with how much you have, fermenting, how full your boxes are, and all that stuff. So we have like a temperature probe in the fermentation boxes, and then every day you have to dump them out to oxygenate them as well. And then I say hit and miss when you're using banana. So we've done a lot of experiments with the yeast, and I think this next batch we're gonna put a yeast in today to kind of help it out. And most people don't even realize it or know when cacao has a yeast added. It's kind of really subtle. Then drying. Drying's another tricky one because if it's rainy today, like, it's going to take forever to dry. So it takes about a week. It could take 2 weeks. What we've been doing lately is we're finishing it off in a commercial dehydrator, like an Excalibur, just to make sure that it's dry just before the beans get put in storage or get roasted. And the main reason here is the fermentation and the drying is kind of critical because if the temperature drops into the 80s, we can get something called mold, which we really don't want in the chocolate.
Cheese maybe, but chocolate.
Yeah. So, and then the roasting's pretty straightforward. It's a different roasting profile than coffee. It's about, I'm pretty conservative with the roasting because I don't like a really roasted flavor, so going about maybe like 265 degrees. And it goes for about half an hour to an hour. Whereas coffee is a lot hotter for a lot shorter time. But you can play around with the flavor profile with the roasting. Cracking and winnowing, right? When we did that today, we get the nibs. And then the nibs go into our grinders. And our grinders are stone grinders. There's 2 granite wheels on a granite base. And it says on the package, stone ground. And it's something you hardly ever see on commercial chocolate because it just takes so long to... Once it goes in there, it takes about a day, and then we add in our sugar and our vanilla, and then it sits in the machine another 3 days. So about 4 days in the grinder, sometimes 5.
And is it going the whole time?
Yeah.
It's grinding the whole
So
time.
after about 2 days or 3 days, it's smooth. It's really creamy. It's smooth. But then your 4th and your 5th day, it's conching. You asked me about conching.
I did.
Yeah. So the extra couple days in here, that basically it's degassing or conching. So some places will use a separate machine. So the stone ground is great because the stones, they're granite. Obviously, over years of use, the granite will start getting smooth and break down. And so those granite minerals, or the stone dust, goes into the chocolate. But the thing is, if it's a machine, a steel machine, all these big machines, the metal obviously wears down. Where does the metal go?
In the chocolate.
Sometimes they've had recalls of commercial chocolate because it's high in lead and cadmium. It's because of the machines they use, and also because when they dry them in third world countries, they do it right next to the side of the road, and then all the tuk-tuks go by, and all the leaded gasoline and two-stroke engines.
Oh man.
Get sucked up into the beans. So some commercial chocolate that they've tested had to be recalled because of lead and cadmium. Another reason.
No early chocolate's grown.
Yeah, another reason to have stone ground chocolate, and you hardly ever see it on a label because, like I say, it's not really profitable because it takes too long. But it's the way we do it because
Question for you. Once you roasted the bean, what's the shelf life?
It's like coffee. It's like you eat about a week before it gets into the grinders. Once you roast it, you really want to use it as soon as you can. If it's fermented and dried, then it's stable and you can store the beans for years. But then once you roast it, you want to use it.
Start losing flavor after.
And it's going to start sucking back up moisture because it's nice and dry. Same thing with coffee. If you fresh roast coffee, you want to make the coffee right away. You don't want to have it sitting overnight. Okay, and then it's tempered, molded, and wrapped into bars. This is our step-by-step. And then there's a flour. It's making the magnets. And I'm going to pass around these cards later that has all the steps and what we're talking about. The next one is organic raisins and peanuts. Peanuts. This is like that classic flavor of a chunky bar.